Verona, it is a pleasure to have you on the show. How are you today?
I'm very well. It is a pleasure to be here.
I love the
How are
shirt, by the
you?
way. I'm
Oh,
good.
thanks. It's a whole Ramones
Yeah.
vibe.
That is cool.
It's the best shirt. It really
Yeah.
is.
Hey, is it true that you had a Star Wars tattoo before you ever got booked in anything Star Wars?
Yeah. This whole arm is sleeved with the evolution of the stormtrooper. So you have Django
Oh,
on Camino, and then there's like a clone trooper that
that
morphs
is
into a
sick.
stormtrooper. Have Slave One in there. Yeah, man. All the way.
Wow. So
Yeah,
how
I got
does
that way before I was ever cast in Star Wars. My very first tattoo was the Imperial symbol. It looks like garbage, but yeah.
Wow, that is crazy. So how did it
Yeah.
actually feel when you eventually got into the franchise and now you've done so many projects?
Felt kind of like that. Um, it
Yeah.
was very cool. Like the very first thing that I did was the
Force Awakens? No?
yeah.
Yep.
I was trying to figure out if I did something before that. So I did the Force Awakens as a loop group, and the big thing in that was that I got to do the first female stormtrooper in the whole galaxy. So, and it's not modulated. It's just my voice. When I hear it, it's very jarring because it's not robotic. I'm not doing a character. I just saying words and it's coming out of a stormtrooper on the screen. And then my name is in bluish whitish letters at the very end of the movie. It's wild. So it felt amazing. Amazing.
Do you remember going to the theater for the first time and seeing it?
Yeah, so I am like a true Star Wars nerd for the films. So I always line up for Star Wars. Like I'm
Nice.
in the group that like camps out. Yeah.
Yeah, like the night session sort of thing.
Like a whole week in advance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Camping
So
out.
yeah. I love it. It's so fun. It is so fun. I originally did it for the prequels when I was obviously much younger. And that was such an experience that when I moved to Los Angeles from Toronto, I knew I had to join the line here because this was the original line that had started the whole phenomenon of lining up, in 77, let alone when the prequels came out. So I found the information for the line and I didn't tell them that I was in it because I thought I didn't want to make it weird. And I also didn't want to spoil anything. And I just wanted to
Yeah.
come hang out.
Yeah.
So I was in that line. I made so many amazing friends. And then I actually got to go to a cast and crew screening the night before the official release. So I saw it the day before we did the whole midnight showing with the group. And some of the people in the group got to go to the premiere a few days before. So
Oh,
it
yeah.
was our group was kind of staggered in terms of our experience. So the people that I knew were going to the premiere, I did pull them aside and I was like, hey, just so you know, I'm in this movie.
I
And they
would.
were like,
I couldn't help
what?
myself. Yeah.
So it was really great. And what was amazing about it is when the credits did roll at the end, I was with all of these friends. So when my name came up on the screen, and it's like near the end. It's not like Harrison Ford. It's near the end. There was like this huge
Oh,
cacophonous
that's
applause,
cool.
which was
That
so
is so
nice.
cool.
Yeah. It was really, really cool. It like my little Star Wars heart just grew 1,000 sizes.
Do you get emotional at that point, or are you more just elated, happy?
When my friends are cheering for me,
Yeah,
or just
yeah,
I mean, it was pretty emotional, I would have to
yeah.
say, because I also wasn't expecting them to do that.
Mm,
The energy. I'm sure you've been to an opening night of Star Wars. Like the energy is really high already. Everybody has their robes and their lightsabers and their costumes and their whatever. So everybody's kind of vibrating the whole time. But to really get that, and you're exhausted as well because it's a midnight show. It's so late. That's
mm.
too late for a movie for me. So, and we've been camping out for a whole week. So it's kind of, you kind of go into this a little ragged when you're in the line. And that first showing is always a little uncomfortable, I would say, even
Yeah.
if the theater is great. So it was really nice. It was really, really nice to get that from my friends.
It's funny you say that because the only two times in a theater that I've had where the audience they clapped at the end was The Dark Knight and The
Yeah,
Force Awakens. Funnily enough,
nice.
yeah. So, talk to us about Jedi Survivor because this game's bloody awesome. I don't know if you know. Have you
That's what
seen much of it? Have
that's what
you?
that's what they keep telling me. Yeah.
And you play Cage in the game. Talk to us about this experience, how you landed the role, and the voice as well, because there's a little bit of an Australian accent I feel like coming through
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of getting the role, the casting director, I've auditioned for her several times before. And she casts most of the Star Wars games. But everything is fake. Everything, every time you get any audition from her, it's not the character names are fake. The script you get is usually partially fake. But the last game that I got to the final round was Squadrons as one of the main characters in Squadrons. So for that audition, I had gone in, done a pre-read, and then done a callback, and then did a session with a director, sort of almost like a theater rehearsal. And then I didn't book that role. But when they let me know, I mean, they let my agent know, like I was there until the very, very end, which I mean, it's flattering, but it's also like, but I didn't get it, so it doesn't matter. But I've auditioned for her several times. And because I think in the last game, I got so far in the audition process, she just brought me directly to the director this time. So I didn't have to do a pre-read. I didn't have to do self-tape at the beginning. It was a Zoom audition. And I got it from my manager, and it said, this is for a performance capture and voiceover role for a for a science fiction fantasy game. And then it was a bounty hunter.
Oh, yeah.
So
you're piecing it together.
There was no way to know what game.
No.
And then they did say they wanted like an Australian or New Zealand kind of accent. And that's, obviously because of Boba Fett. So I went to school in England, British, great. I had never done any Australian accent before in my life, not even remotely close. Embarrassing. So to prepare for the audition, there's a guy on YouTube, and he teaches like immigrants how to speak English with an Australian accent if they're living in Australia, because if you're learning English as a second or third language, because they're in Australia, you would want an Australian pronunciation. And I just had his videos running constantly, and he has a compilation of like the 100 most common words, and I would just repeat after him. So I went as big as possible for the audition. Like I just had to hit the really obvious like Australian sounds to at least show them, because I only had a few days to prepare, that I was somewhere in the ballpark. And so it was like pretty Crocodile Dundee, I'll be honest. It's like pretty out there. But I also filmed myself doing it so I could kind of get the swagger. I also have an Aura Singh costume, so I have holsters with blasters, so I like threw those on.
Oh, wow.
So when I did the Zoom audition, I had seen it from a million angles, filmed myself, watched it. I had practiced as best as I could this sort of dialect, and then went into this audition, and then, felt pretty good about it, and then didn't hear anything at all. And I was like, cool. And then a month later, I got a call back. So I go and I do it again. Same thing. The
same
director.
thing. Yep.
Yeah. The same scenes for the director. Strap on the holsters again, and then didn't hear anything. No, not again. And then a month later, they let me know I got the role. So the thing was, I didn't know what the role was for or anything. So it's a weird thing to be like, congratulations, you got a role. We're not going to tell you what it is.
They don't even give you scope, like how big this thing is, do they? Really?
Like no one still told me what game I'm in. Like in every step of the way, I would say like, what game is this? And someone would say, oh, they haven't told you. Well, I can't tell you. Everybody. So it was challenging. And then, with the accent, I had to find something that made sense for me, that was replicable for me, that fit the sound that they wanted. And when we started during that second audition, the callback, they had said they didn't want something so broad. They wanted something more like Cate Blanchett. Well, like her accent's almost non-existent, it's so subtle. And for me, as an actor who grew up in a British household, went to theater school in England, it's very easy to fall into the British pronunciation if it's too small. So I ended up hiring a dialect coach, and we had to find something that had the flavor of a subtle Australian accent, but that was non-specific, and that also I could do consistently. So I like to say she's not Australian, she's Australian. It's just how she sounds.
I love
There's
that.
no Australia in the galaxy, so she's not Australian, but
Yeah.
it has a little of that lilt to it.
So you're working with a dialect coach. What's that like? How do you work with him or her when you're together? And do you just sit there and just go through sentences? And how does that work?
So I beg for the scripts in advance. So they
Please
will,
give me anything.
they will say, I'll get a call from my manager and they'll say, put Friday on hold. You're booked for 4 hours for voiceover for this project. And so then I frantically email or text the dialect coach and I say, okay, I'm recording on Friday. When are you available? And we book something. And then I email my manager back and say, okay, I'm going to work with the dialect coach on Wednesday. Can you get a script? 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 And at the 11th hour, I'll get a PDF.
Yeah.
So then I forward it to the dialect coach and then we just work on it. So it was like a mix of going through the script and doing the phonetics work on the script. So, and then him also teaching me groupings of words that all are pronounced the same way, and me sort of just very studiously making notes and then practicing, repeating after him. When I would hit something that consistently was really difficult for me, we would try to find something else that wasn't difficult for me to get consistently, because the sessions are so broken up. It's not like you're working for a week every single day. You work 4 hours in March and then 4 hours in June and then June, another 4. It's all over the place. So there's no time to really get settled in this character. And of course, the other actors had already done an entire game. So they were very comfortable in that skin. So the dialect coach was just like being in school as much as possible. And then he recorded all of our sessions. And then I would take the recording and then I would edit out all of the nonsense chatter and whatever, and try to make these sort of compressed files where I could just repeat after myself, repeat after him, to really get it in my mouth, so that on the day when emotions and energy are high, or in the studio when everything's a little, new, I'm not falling over myself.
So your first day on set, was it performance capture as the character?
Yeah.
So are there nerves there? Because you've also got you've got to get the voice right in the back of your head, but then you're surrounded by everyone who's Cameron's done the game before.
I had rehearsal before we would do the actual shoot day. So there would be a rehearsal day, then a shoot day. So that was sort of nice because I'd worked in that motion capture volume before, and I'd done actually a lot of training in that specific volume. So I was very familiar with the space, which was really nice to set myself at ease, because I knew where everything was. I knew where the bathroom was. I knew where the weapons are. I was just very comfortable. I felt very at home.
Yeah.
In that
even with the suit on?
Yeah. I've done, weird pajamas.
Yeah.
The only thing is that it's usually really cold because I have to keep all the cameras. So I had been in that space, which was definitely set me more at ease than I think if it had been somewhere new. But I'd never met the majority of the people there. And like you said, Cameron and Tina was there as well. She was doing a reshoot for something, and a couple of other actors were there. Kendall was there doing various things. And they knew the warm-up. They knew the process for the rehearsal. Like, they knew all of it. And so I was sort of like throwing myself into the ring and just going for it. And then when we actually started working and rehearsing in the space, Cameron's like, Cal is like a straight man. He's like very level-headed, and Caij is not. She's very like this. So I'm trying to find her in this space. I had done some work at home, of course, but I'm trying to kind of find her. I'm working with the director. The video game director and the narrative lead are also to the side, and they keep having little conversations that I can hear. So I don't know why they were just saying them to me, but I can hear them. And then the director comes back and says, okay, what we're going to do. And sometimes it was different than what they said. So it was like a little confusing, and it started to get like a little bit scary. Like, I've totally messed this up. They're going to cut her from the game. I've ruined it. I mean, every time I get an acting job, I walk on set and I was like, I've fooled them into this. They've made a huge mistake.
You're not the first person to say that, by the way. Yeah.
I'm not surprised. So it was a little nerve-wracking, but once you get a couple hours into the day, you relax, and that's why you have rehearsals. So there's no pressure to get it right on the first go. But I did remind everybody. I sort of was like, hey, just so you know, I've never done this character before. I just need a little more time to really find, and how does she interact with this guy? And I've never seen him in person before. So how does he actually move? And there's like another person with a little BD1 behind him with a little squeaker in his mouth. So like it's these weird two men doing this like weird shuffle. And it's just not
So
expected.
strange.
Yeah.
It's so strange. That's
Yeah.
what I mean. How do you balance everything? And you've also got in the back of your mind trying to do this voice. Do you have to like go into the session just knowing the voice at the like the back of your hand because you can't have too much
Yeah.
to worry about? Would you
Yeah.
say? Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I worked with a dialect coach. And that's why I ran the audio either from that guy on YouTube whose name I cannot remember,
Yeah.
unfortunately, or that I got with my dialect coach. I would just listen to it constantly. When I was walking my dogs, I had it just on repeat, and I'd be repeating after myself. When I was in the car, repeating after myself. On the way to the studio, when I'm in my trailer, like all I'm doing is reminding myself what it feels like to have those positions in my mouth. Because once we get on stage and the director says something different and I have to do some unusual movement or whatever, it has to be consistent, which is also why I didn't want to just say like, I'm going to do this very specific Australian or this specific New Zealand accent. I have to do something that fits with how I express myself, that is replicable for me and not necessarily accurate to a specific region or specific person that I'm copying. If this was a movie and I was supposed to be Australian, then like I've totally blown it, right? You know, because it's not specific. So it is, I really had to go in so confident that I could just speak and then the rest would come. And Kendall is Australian and she was there. And at one point I walked off set and she was like, you sound like my mom. And I was like, awesome, great.
So did you do any did you get to do any stunts or anything like that? Because I know you've done that before.
The only stunt, I don't want to, spoilers.
That's all right. Spoilers, everyone knows now. I mean,
Spoilers.
we're all good. We're all good.
So in the final scene when Boba Fett shows up, when she gets lassoed and sort of yanked down, I did that. So I did that stunt.
Oh, wow.
So
How do you pull that off?
he goes like, and I jump up and backwards and like kind of do one of these like a mummy and then land on a pad and just hope for the best. Cause I have a camera on my head as well.
Yeah.
And I've got a battery pack on my back and I have all of the things. So it's really quite risky to, you know, is this thing going to bonk me in the face? So I just jumped in the air and went.
You went for it.
I just really had to. But all of the real cool stunts, all the fighting and I do a couple of, you know, I'm doing movement, but all of the really cool Caij action is somebody who's much more qualified than I am for that.
When did you find out about that Boba Fett scene? Kind of went a little bit viral in the Star Wars community
on the first day.
On the first day. Because that must be a bit nerve-wracking for you as well, because being such a fan, and they actually got the original voice actor from the show in, right? He didn't do performance capture though, did he?
No. The actor who did the performance capture for Boba Fett, I think his name is TJ Ramini, I believe, and he plays another character.
Yeah.
And so he stood in and did the motion capture for Boba Fett for that scene. And he was very cool. And it was, he was like, I'm Boba Fett. Like everybody was having a good time. The scene was really fun. We actually shot, when we were shooting, we shot it before the intro scene because the energy is so much higher. And what actually happened is when we were starting to shoot it, there's the part with the thermal detonator and, you know, she interrupts. And one of the times we shot it, I jumped a couple of lines. Like I was so hyped up. I was just like, you know, and it scared everybody in the whole room. And the director was like, oh, you know, we need to do that again. Don't jump their line, but like, that was perfect. Like that's what we want. So it really is supposed to be like so tense. And then just out of nowhere, this explosion. But yeah, I held this whole Boba Fett thing in all of it, but the Boba Fett thing from everyone forever. People working on the game didn't even know, you know, code names for everything. And it's only the one scene. So they shot it that day and that was it.
So have you seen it now on YouTube or whatever? You've watched it?
Yeah.
What'd you
Yeah,
think
it was
when you're
so
watching?
rad.
Yeah, you're thinking
So
this is
cool.
freaking cool.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. It's really cool. I mean, watching any of Caij, seeing any of Caij, whether it's the photos or the cutscenes or even people's basic interactions with her in the cantina, for me, it's so cool. As someone who's a lifelong Star Wars fan, to have originated a new character that is really, even though she's so mean, people seem to really like her, and she's like so cool, and she doesn't die, is fantastic.
That's a plus.
Yeah,
There's still hope for more
there's
in the
still hope for
future.
more. Yeah.
Because I know they have to do a third game at this point because it's such a great series. But
Yeah.
so talk to me about the cantina scenes because I love that introduction to her. I'm going into the cantina. She just won't say anything to me. The hat's down, really cool the way she's laid out, and then you're just not getting anything out of her. And it's just the whole quest is so great. Just learning more and then doing the bounties. And I think that's one of the reasons why everyone loves her. She's just mysterious, cool, badass chick.
Yeah. And and when you get the real introduction, you think she's your friend. And it seems like not only a fun quest, but with really good rewards. So it seems like something you want to continue to see where it goes. The fact that she's got a knife in your back and you don't even know it the whole time it was so fun for me. But all of those cantina things, she's supposed to be dismissive, I think probably Disney or Lucasfilm was like, hey, she can't be drunk, because there were a couple of lines about her drinking quite a lot that they removed from the script, unfortunately. There's one or two that
Oh,
got left
really?
in.
Okay.
But there was like a lot more where she's just a little belligerent they took out. But I did choose to make her a lot more mean, I think, than dismissive. I think it makes people want to win her over a little bit. And I think the writing really lent itself. When she really gets going, she's such a big personality that I think the contrast of her being so hard to crack at the beginning really makes you feel when she opens up, like you've really done something, like you really earned it. It is really that all of the pictures I've seen of her in the cantina are, I mean, I saw one piece of artwork secretly, illicitly before, and that was it. I was not given any artwork. I was not officially presented any artwork.
What, until the game came out?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
I was sneaked like a little character design, and they were like, here you go. Okay, and you can't see it. I saw a brief section of the stunt animation that they were using just to sort of model in the scene. They ran it and they're like, do you want this video? And I was like, oh yeah, that'd be really great. And then there was a conversation. They're like, oh, actually we're changing it, so we're not going to send it to you. And I was like, oh no. Why?
So you didn't know what she looked like at all. Did you expect her to look like that? Is that what she looked like in your mind when you're playing the character?
So I saw that character artwork just in advance of doing any actual work. Cool. So I knew she was now Tallinn.
Yeah.
And I knew she kind of had this like cowboy Kit Fisto thing happening. And I knew she had jet boots and I knew she had a big hat and that there was going to be a lot of sort of swagger and using the hat to kind of express herself. But nobody officially told me. I mean, I saw that because someone was like, hey, by the way, okay, look. Okay, stop looking. At no point during the whole process was anyone like, okay, so here's the game. Here's what happens. Here's what your character is. It was very much like, she's a bounty hunter. Good luck.
They don't give you even any backstory on the character. You've got to make that yourself.
No.
Really? Nothing at all?
No, if it's not in the script that's been provided, then no, nothing. So it's fortunate that I did the cutscenes first before all of the cantina voice because that has the most information in it. And the audition scenes that I had, they were slightly different than the cutscenes. There was a second cutscene that the words didn't really make it into that Boba Fett scene. It's a little bit different. But that also gave me more information. Even though they were fake scenes, the intention was certainly there. So I did have a little bit of a feeling of sort of where she had come from, that she had decided to run from someone and that she was now like laying low. Like, what is a Nautola? They're amphibious. Why is she on a desert planet? You know what I mean? Like, you're not there because you enjoy it. You don't end up on Tatooine because it's a good time. So you just don't.
No, not often.
Right.
I wouldn't.
So they didn't. Nobody told me anything.
Yeah.
And I'm sure most of it is intentional. I'm sure some of it is just oversight because there's so many moving parts in the game. And when you're actually shooting on a mocap stage and you have a couple of actors and you have the director and you have the writer and you have the video game director, and then you just have a bunch of people sitting at computers and you have sort of someone scripty or whatever walking around, but it's a very technical environment. The majority of the people there are not concerned with whether or not you're a good actor or a nice actor. Like they're collecting data and they're processing information coming from the cameras. And I'm sure they want the game to be good, but like that's not their concern while they're there. And their job is not like on a regular film set where they're lighting you and they have to make sure you're in the suit and you got your little balls on and you're surrounded by cameras and that's it. So
how was it different to the work that you did on Borderlands 3 or some of the other mocap stuff that you've done? How was this one different?
I had rehearsal for this one. So
that always helps.
Yeah. So I had a rehearsal for this, and Borderlands was much more like the Borderlands work that I did. There's sort of one scene where I'm acting along to a pre-recorded voice track. So when you're doing motion capture, there's a couple of different things that you might do. You might do where you're doing the full performance capture. You might just do the body and they're going to do something else with the head, or they play somebody else's audio and you're essentially miming out what you think that character is doing to that voice. So for Borderlands, that's what I did. I was sort of miming what I think.
For any specific characters or all over the shop?
No, the main character was, oh no, what's her name? The Calypso twins, Tyrene Calypso.
Oh, yes.
So
okay.
I had this pre-recorded track of Tyrene and I had to act out stuff. But the day that I only worked on it for one day. The day that I worked on it, there were a bunch of other female characters and they're like, can you also do this? Can you also do this? Can you also do this? So it was just sort of filling in for the motion, or they were missing a particular kind of movement that in the scene that they were building. They were like, oh, we need a female character that's going to do X. And so the cool thing with Borderlands is they just kept handing me like these huge weapons to hold because it's so exaggerated that they're just giving me like a pool noodle, and they're like, okay, it's a bazooka type of thing.
I feel like you would have been awesome in the Borderlands movie they're making, the actual live action one.
Yeah, that would have been really fun. I think my friend Janina, who does Iden Versio in Battlefront,
she's in it. Yeah,
I think she's in it. Yeah,
she's a bit of a badass too. She was in Battlefront.
Super badass. Yeah, she's a super badass. She's such a good ambassador for the work because she's also like a mega gamer as well.
Yeah,
like she really is. I'm bad at video games, dude. If it's not a puzzle game or a rhythm game, it's just I'm just mashing buttons. Katamari Damacy, Portal, Tetris, excellent.
Oh, okay. So the puzzle type game. So what would be the last game you've played?
Just gonna start Survivor any day now. I just got a copy.
Oh, you are gonna play it?
I'm gonna try it. I don't think it's gonna be good, and I'm gonna put it on story mode. And I'm going to use all of those on-screen prompts. I am going to play it.
Would you ever stream it online for the fans?
It would be a real embarrassing stream, I think, for everyone involved. I don't think a single person watching would just be like, oh God, I'm so embarrassed for her. What is the last game I played? You know what? I really like playing games on my Oculus. And
the Rift.
And
headset,
yeah, and I was playing Myst on the Oculus. Myst is that like game from the 90s where it's like a puzzle game. You're on an island and you have to like pull all these levers and then a bridge comes down. Riven and Myst were in the same.
Is it kind of creepy?
No, not at all.
Oh, it's not. I'm thinking of a different one.
It's not like creepy. It's just very like silent. It's not creepy like a Silent Hill. There's just no one.
Oh yes, I know this. Yeah.
And the thing that I like about those kinds of games, Portal is, I think, as like edgy as I get, is that there's no one coming to kill me, no pressure. I can just go at my own pace and figure out the little puzzle and then move on to the next one. You know, in Portal, even like when you get taunted by like Gladys and everything, like I started to get a little stressed out. So I don't like games where people are coming for me.
Right.
On the Oculus, there's also, and I worked on the Darth Vader Immortal or whatever.
Nice.
I worked on that too, doing voices. But that's so scary.
It's
so scary when Darth Vader comes for you. I don't want to fight Darth Vader. It's so scary. So I do like a very peaceful game, a Star Tropics, if you will, where the stakes are extremely low.
Are you the same with movies, or do you like horror movies?
I don't mind horror. I'm getting more into horror again. So when I was younger, I was really into like just the most unsettling stuff. I watched a lot of Korean and Japanese horror. Like I really was really into all of those things. And then I think I hit a point where I developed a central nervous system completely, and my body was like, hey, this feels bad. And then of course I moved to the US, and with politics and everything here, it's very tense all of the time. And with COVID as well. So I did have a moment where I was like, oh, I'm not watching anything that doesn't just make me feel extremely calm constantly.
Yeah.
But now that that's sort of settled a little bit, I'm getting back into horror.
Because you did some work on a Shudder project, that I've been meaning to watch that, but I haven't. VHS,
yeah, VHS 99.
Yeah.
I'm in the very first segment, which is called shredding.
So you don't last long. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Well, that's all right.
Great. It's great.
Yeah. I remember there was a really good Shudder film I watched. I think it was called Host. Did you ever watch that one? Came out during the pandemic. It was a real sleeper hit. It was all over Zoom, like this horror film over Zoom.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, kind of cool for the time. But
yeah.
So you had fun on that one?
I really did. In VHS 99, I am in like a mid 90s post-punk band. So I had like full white face, my hair was up in this like giant goth sort of nest, and I got to be in a fake band and lip sync to a song and play bass to a song. Yeah. It was so fun. I've never been in a band, and it was really fun to be in a band.
I heard you're a really good drummer. Yeah.
I'm a good flautist.
I know. Yeah.
I'm an adequate drummer.
Okay.
Adequate.
So you could pose as a drummer, but when it comes push comes to shove, you might be in trouble.
I mean, if we're gonna play a not too fast punk rock song, I'm all set. Much more than that, or like even a mid-paced ska song, I could definitely help you out. But other than that, it's not me.
What sort of music are you into, Verona? I'm curious.
Oh, questionable. I historically listen to a lot of like post-punk original goth stuff.
Give me throw some names out there for me.
Bauhaus,
Sisters
of Mercy, Susie and the Banshees, The Cure.
Nice.
And then I have these like early 2000 club hits, like goth club hits, and all like weird German bands, and it's all like weird pop music with these singers who don't speak English, but they write songs in English, so the lyrics don't make a lot of sense, but they slap real hard. And then other than that, I love mashups, and it upsets a lot of people, but mashups. I love mashups are the only way I know anything about current popular music.
Yeah.
I'm not into, but I do love, Taylor Swift mashed up with Nine Inch Nails. Like, it doesn't get any better than that.
Oh, okay.
It makes a great mix. And then I do listen to a lot of ska, which everybody finds really funny that I'm a huge ska enthusiast, ska maven, if you will. I'm always pushing people to listen to ska.
You're their number one fan.
I said questionable at the top.
What was the last concert you went to?
Great question. I think the last thing I went to, I went to Depeche Mode only a few weeks ago. I went to see Depeche Mode.
Right.
Went to see Depeche Mode, yeah.
Good show?
It was amazing. I had very expensive floor seats, and so we were very close to the front. And one of my best friends from Toronto, Katie, flew out to come see them with me. So she was here for 60
Nice.
hours, and we went together, made a whole night of it. It was so good. We had
That's
so much fun. Everyone in our row had a great time. It was a really good time. And then this week, I have other friends coming in from out of town, 3 of them, and we're going to like 5 shows in a row. It's going to be a lot.
okay. So how do you balance all this acting work with all these friends you've got?
You know, I don't act as much as I would really like. The problem with
Oh,
Los
okay.
Angeles, the
Right.
problem with Los Angeles is like the Super Bowl of acting. So only the best people get to do it, and not that often. Unfortunately, I don't get to work as much as I would like. I'm hoping that changes every year. It kind of a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more.
So if it was up to you, you'd be working how often?
If it was up to me, I would be like a regular on a television show, in like an ensemble cast on a television show. So I'd be working like
Like an 8-season big show, yeah.
like most of the time.
But
TV is my favorite.
you had a
So
taste of that with Bosch.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that was really cool. And that show is, I don't know if you ever watched it. It's intense.
Mm.
Uh, it is quite a compressed shooting schedule, and those actors, if you watch the storylines, like they're hard storylines, and those actors really put themselves through the ringer all of the time emotionally to
Well,
get
that's what
those
I'm saying.
performances.
That's a lot of how do you
Yeah,
not bring that home?
but my character on Bosch, she's a good time girl. She's just having a nice time. She's low key sleeping with this cop, working at this bar. It's, she's not literally not solving any murders like the rest of.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So going back to Cage, where would you
Yeah.
take the character next, do you think? If you had more
Oh,
time with her?
I I would look, I'm not a writer, and I'm not going to pretend to be a writer, but I would love for Cage to have to to get away from Boba Fett and to have to flee somewhere else and to try to figure out, call her contacts, try to make nice with people that she owes money, a very like Han Solo and Jabba type of dynamic
Mm.
to try to get herself back on top. Like I think she's really ambitious. And even when she gets set back, when she gets at it, it's like she never learns her lesson for this. And
Almost like an
thinks
anti-hero sort of thing. Yeah.
she
Yeah.
really thinks she deserves to be up here all of the time and will not miss an opportunity. So I would love for her to get into more trouble, whether it was in a video game, whether it was on television. I'm personally not done with Cage, and we only just got a little bit of her. So I think there's a lot more story to tell.
How the hell would you cosplay this character? That would be a tough one. That
I
would be
did
tough.
I did see a guy post a picture of his celebration, and he had like the Jedi now Tolan with the head and the tentacles, and it was wild, like unbelievable. And I really wanted to be like, but I couldn't say anything because the game wasn't out. So I have a friend, his name's Frank Ippolito, and he runs a prop company called Thingergy, and they did the costumes and the armor for Mandalorian season 1 and 2.
Oh, wow.
They do Umbrella Academy. They do a lot of cool stuff. So I actually he sent me a picture that he was playing the game the other day, and he was like, I found you. And we had drinks the other day, and he was like, so do we need to make you a costume? And I was like, yes,
Yes,
please.
please.
So we're going to start with a hat and goggles.
Yeah.
I think that's like a good place to start. What's so great about this game with the photo mode, it's like a cosplayer's dream. Stop it at any time. Zoom in. You can see the stitching. You can see
Oh,
all of the
wow. Yeah, I didn't
detail
think of
on
that.
right? So you can have it like so perfect. So the disadvantage, of course, is that she's green and she's got these giant saucer eyes and just like these weird tentacles. But from the
Yeah.
neck down, not a difficult costume. She's wearing gloves, so you don't see a lot of green on her hands. She's got, long trousers. It's kind of cowboy vibe. It's a very cool costume. It doesn't seem like it would be very uncomfortable to wear it if you made it as clothing. Like a head that's problematic. And I mean, I need to dye my hair, but I already have, the green sort of situation.
Yeah, could you do something with the hair maybe? And I'm not a hairstylist, but surely you could come up with something.
Maybe just some hair extensions to make them longer. Like, I don't know, paint myself green. I used to paint myself white to be Aura Singh, and it was real pain.
Yeah, yeah. So what about if you could choose to throw her in a movie or a show, Star Wars, what one would it be, would you say?
Oh my God. That's such a hard question.
I know.
It is limited though, because the Jedi, Survivor and Fallen Order story takes place in a specific kind of window.
Yeah.
But I guess you can go a little bit before, a little bit behind. I
Let's
don't
take
know.
the restrictions out of it for the sake of the question.
I mean, if she could be anywhere, an heir to the Empire, Thrawn type stuff, a very cool part of the universe to exist in. I'm not sure how she would fit in exactly, but I think that's just like a cool
Still be
part
cool.
of the universe. I'm not caught up on The Mandalorian. I do have a little bit of Star Wars fatigue from just like so much content coming out. I feel very overwhelmed. But like the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian are so good in a way that I didn't expect. I think because we're not in like the Skywalker story at this time. So it is this new slice of the galaxy that's very familiar shaped. Like it's Boba Fett shaped, but it's not Boba Fett. And so we feel as Star Wars fans attracted to like, what is that story of that? And we kind of all know the Mandalorian, like a little bit of the background. And to see that storyline unfold separate from the Skywalkers for me was really, really exciting and refreshing. So I would love to be on any show, and Andor is the same way. It's like so separate from the Skywalkers that I would love to put her in any show that has that kind of storyline where it is something that we are kind of familiar with in the world, in the galaxy, but we're not like playing on Skywalkers. We're not playing on Darth Vader. We're not playing on the Emperor. We're not playing on these like huge figures, because you just can't compare to that. Like you just can't put Luke Skywalker in anything, and he's gonna dwarf the whole story. So I would love to just like exist. I don't want to go to Tatooine, but I'm happy on Kobo. Well, we could go somewhere else, maybe a little more with higher moisture, more humidity would be great for me.
Oh no! And last one, Star Wars. Favorite Star Wars film?
Return of the Jedi.
Same here.
No
Good
hesitation.
answer.
Yeah.
Without hesitation, yeah. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Knock it away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Is there anything you wanted to say to the fans today?
It's a lot of pressure. I have been extremely grateful to everybody who has come to Twitter or Instagram or my email to express their joy of meeting Caij or interacting with Caij. I'll be honest, I was very afraid of Twitter around the release, because I have seen in the past with video game releases some pretty mean things come out from people who are supposed to be fans, and Star Wars fans as well have been historically extremely mean to a lot of people. And that is really scary. And I talked to a couple of friends who work in this universe as well. And I was like, I'm really scared of people being mean to me on Twitter. I don't know what to do. And they're like, well, I can't, there's nothing I can do about that. Like, you should be afraid of them, but just delete the app for a couple of days. And except for one mean person who came to my Instagram, who I just immediately blocked so I didn't have to deal with them, the response has been so good for Caij. Awesome. And I'm so grateful that people love her and they think she's funny, and they think they are like stressed out that she won't interact with them. And then they get so excited when they like everything about her story that we put out there, the writers and the art and myself, that we created of this character is resonating. And I, as a Star Wars fan, am so excited that I got to bring her to life. And like me and her are forever connected. She's her own thing, but we're forever connected. And that's really, really exciting. And so I'm really grateful for people like letting me know that they feel that way.
That's amazing. And again, you did a really great job. I love the character. When you want to see more, you've done a good job. So
yeah. I'm really hopeful we get to do her more. If not, I hope that I get to do Aura Singh in a live action.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Just more Star Wars, yeah. And that's the thing. You mentioned the fatigue. I had the fatigue too, but this game actually kind of revitalized it for me a little bit.
Yeah. And maybe it's like the medium change, that there's been so much television, and now because it's interactive and you get to, and also again, you're in the game, we're not in Skywalker storyline. No, exactly. Right. And I think that's part of the problem with people who are huge fans, is we absorb all of the content, but nothing's going to compare to the original trilogy. And I think that, Disney is really walking a tightrope, right? Because you have to put out content that resonates with people who are not mega fans, but that keeps them involved, but also show the hardcore fans this glimmer of like the things that they know about, the secret, whatever it's from the books or the, expanded universe. They have to bring that stuff in enough to get us to continue. And so as a result, it sometimes feels a little disjointed, like it's overdone or it's not enough. Yeah. So I think the video game being a different medium is really helpful.
I think you've nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might just be the TV, too many TV series for me to keep up as well.
Yeah.
You feel like you've got to watch them all and
yeah. And there's so many franchises now that have such huge fan bases. So if you're doing all of the Marvel TV shows and films, you're doing all of the Star Wars TV shows and films, and then you have all the must-watch TV that's not Star Wars. You have like all of the things where you're like, oh, you have to watch Yellow Jackets, you have to watch Succession, you have to watch, and like all you do is watch, and it gets exhausting. And I'm somebody who loves watching television. Like I love television, everything else, and I get to the point where like I'm gonna put on a show that I have been watching, and I'm like, I just don't want to do it, and that's weird.
Is that your favorite show at the moment, Succession?
That's what I'm catching. That's what I'm catching up on right now.
Yeah.
But I have been watching what is it called? Love and Death. Love and Death with
the Olsen. Yeah.
With Elizabeth Olsen and Jesse Plemons. And historically, I don't really like Elizabeth Olsen. I think she's fine, but she's just like not the kind of stuff she does is usually not for me. And she's so good in this. And Jesse Plemons is amazing. And the whole story is really captivating. So I'm really enjoying that show as well. But Succession just has like a chokehold. I couldn't tell you what's happening in the show, but I can't stop watching it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. We really appreciate it, Verona.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much.
I had a nice time. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Is there any chance Caij can come alive at the end of this? Is there any way we can hear that voice or what?
My God.
Just a snippet, Verona. Come on. I won't look.
I'm going to embarrass myself.
No, you're not. You're not.
I'll just say, I have to say one of the lines, we're all talking about you, Cal. It's not every day that a newcomer introduces themselves by taking down one of Ravis's boys, which, by the way, nice touch. Love a big entrance.
Wow. I can't believe that voice comes out of you.
That's
crazy.
I'm a little out of practice, so nobody come for me about the accent. Don't.
No, but it was perfect.
Thank you.
Man, that is a skill, because every American or Canadian I have on, they can't do the Aussie accent. It's one of those ones that it's
tough. I mean, I did work really hard on it. Like I said, it's not perfect, but I really tried really hard. Like I really put my whole soul into doing it well, because I knew that Star Wars is really important to me, and Star Wars is important to a lot of people. And I would feel terrible if I totally biffed it and like she sucked, or she was embarrassing, or she was not engaging. Like the writing is so good for her. It's so fun.
It really is.
It's so easy to lean into that. And I would just feel like I had failed, myself as a fan if I didn't like try my hardest to get it right. So I am very appreciative that you think I'm doing a good job.
No, and the personality of the character really comes out. So again, thank you so much. And where can we find you on socials? Twitter and Insta? No mean comments. All positive. Let's flood
just
positive.
Keep it yourself. Twitter and Instagram, I'm under Bathory, which is Bathori. And then I'm on TikTok as Verona Blue.
Oh, you are on TikTok. Nice.
I went viral like 3 days ago, and it's stressing me out.
What did you do?
I had some dumb video with my dogs, some like goofy video. There's a song. It's like, go in the store, buy a bottle of hoisin sauce, open the fridge. Oh no, I have a bottle of hoisin sauce. And I did it. I have 6 dogs in my house right now because of the fostering. And so I just did it with chihuahuas the whole time. And it really resonated. And I have the last time I checked, I have 1.8 million plays, 343,000 likes.
Isn't that crazy?
It's just so stressful. It's so stressful.
Why is it so stressful?
Because every time I open the app, there's like a gajillion notifications. And like, what if people are being mean to me? They haven't been. Everybody's been pretty nice. All the comments are like, this is cute. I love this. And it's just, I'm as an actor, I love to tell stories, but I don't know that I want to be famous. It feels very scary to like be in the public eye in a significant way. And so just getting like that many views on TikTok, I was texting my friends. I was like, I think I'm going to put it on private. They're like, no, it's good. I was like, I don't know. I think I got to take it down.
I'm going to have to check this out now.
Yeah.
I haven't
really
seen the
goofy.
video. Yeah.
Yeah. It's goofy. So anyway, now I'm a Chihuahua influencer. So
is that a thing? That's a nice little niche you've carved for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, thank you so much. And I look forward to doing this again soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Talk to you soon, Dan. Have a great day.
Beautiful.